Hey guys, what's going on? We have another Q&A and someone you'll recognize from a few months ago. We've got Tommy Halligan back on. So if you remember, Tommy had some awesome information, awesome knowledge, and we're going to dive in, pick his brains again. And you guys have sent some questions over. So thanks again for joining us, Tommy.
No problem. Good to be back on.
Awesome, mate. I'm going to do it again, actually. Just in case there's any new people, just a quick spiel, like your achievements and coaching credentials and whatnot.
Not a big fan of bigging myself up, but name's Tommy Halligan. I've been coaching now for the past, probably 5-6 years coming up to that. It makes me feel a little bit old. In CrossFit Liverpool, which is now Stronghold Gym. Another story in itself, another Q&A, but I won't touch on that too much. Been coaching anywhere from general population right through to a couple of athletes, different sports. Done an undergrad in strength and conditioning after doing like PT courses and stuff. And I'm currently coming to me last year in my distant learning masters up in University of Lancashire, so UCLan. So dived into a little bit of online stuff lately, which is interesting. Mostly one-on-one coaching, and enjoy all aspects of nutrition, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, sprinting. Now's the new one. And we can dive into training wise. So that's me.
Mate, awesome. Super modest. And for the guys listening as well, definitely check out Tommy's Instagram. Like loads of good knowledge, loads of good information on there as well, especially if you're interested in the sports side of things, sprinting particularly lately as well. So definitely dive on and check that out. And I will tag the Instagram and that so you guys can follow up and check Tommy out. But we'll dive straight into the Q&A. And you guys have sent 3 over, and I've actually tagged my last question on there as well about speed sessions, but we'll crack on with number 1. So first question, how have you programmed your sessions since gyms reopened, in brackets, as in, are you doing less compared to what you normally did?
Yeah, I mean, good question. Definitely a good one. I think we've just been speaking prior to coming live on the recording, but I think going back into the gyms, obviously it's since being in lockdown, depending on what you've got, if you were lucky enough to have like a big setup in terms of bumper plates, plates that you might have carried on as normal, but even then it's probably not the same push you might get when you're inside of the gym environment, or maybe a little bit of competition. So I think the way I've gone about it, or us as a gym together collectively, we sort of said, right, when we come back in the gym, try and keep the simple movements. Simple always wins in my eyes at the moment. In terms of rep schemes, it's something we were actually looking over today. So our session today within the gym was every 3 minutes, front squats for 4 rounds. So you perform a set and then have a little bit of a rest. The lowest number we had was 6. The highest number we had was 12. The first 3 minutes you performed 12. Second 3 minutes 10. Third 3 minute was 8, and then 6. So that just should give you an indicator of we're not really pushing for that extreme rep range of like 1 rep maxes to 3 rep maxes just yet, because we know people haven't really had that type of strenuous activity for the past couple of months of lockdown. So need to slowly build that back up with a little bit of conditioning in terms of repetitions, especially when people haven't really been close to a barbell and stuff. So that's at the time being.
Yeah, that's spot on as well. And 2 points that you make clear there, which is super important, is there's no rush to get back as well. And it massively depends what you did in a lockdown. So like you said, Tommy, people who were exposed to the barbell, had a great gym setup, may have continued training at normal volumes, cracking out some heavy weights as well. But like you just said, if you had 3 months of doing nothing but push-ups and you go back into the gym, it's probably not a good time. In fact, definitely not a good time to test yourself or see where you're at in the squat or deadlift, and just really ease yourself back in. Just from a personal point of view, coaching wise, in terms of people getting back into the sessions, like we've gone for some really reduced sessions to the point where you're kind of like, am I doing enough? Like 2 exercises per session, sometimes 2 working sets per exercise, and that's it. That's all.
I think I know there's a lot of talk about, I think people do chase that little bit of a need to be sore feeling a little bit too much. And I agree, now and again, definitely can happen. But if you're the type of person who bases your session on walking out absolutely folded or collapsed, then maybe a little bit of common sense. But although common sense isn't common, to carry on that routine for I'm guessing people are training because they love it, they enjoy it, they got some type of goals, they want to be doing it quite regular. But them type of sessions sort of put you out for maybe 2 or 3 days. So you've gone from maybe 100% on a Monday, you're coming in Tuesday, you try and tack it the same. It might be like 75, 80 if you're lucky. Then by like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if you're still trying to hit that same intensity, you're going to be like thinking you put 100% effort in, but really your body's probably like 30, 20%. So you say your bottle of water's gone a little bit lower every part of the session. I'd prefer you to keep it pretty consistent throughout the Monday to Friday. That was what I see in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine a lot of people who maybe don't have a coach or maybe in a commercial gym setup just to dive in first day and just, lack of a better phrase, blow their load on as many exercises they haven't done in a few months and then not be able to train for the next week or so.
Yeah. And it's just understandable. Like everyone in the gym, it's exciting to be back. All the movements they've missed and stuff. But like you said, just being a little bit more patient might allow you to be a little bit more, train a little bit longer in the long run, be a little bit more sustainable with it.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a mental point of view as well. I think we're moving to more of a client perspective that you look back about 3 or 4 months ago and you're like, oh, this is what I was doing then. And you kind of get disappointed, kind of like, oh, but I'm not doing it now. Maybe I've regressed. You second guess yourself. All those doubts come in. But you've just said it there, Tommy. Just take your time. There's no rush to get back. Easier said than done now, especially when you go in that first couple of weeks and you're like, wow, this feels like a ton of bricks. And this is meant to be like 50% of my max or 60% or something like that.
Yeah, a nice way to put it. I mean, from a coaching perspective, you give yourself a little bit of targets. You could have pre-lockdown lifts and you could have post-lockdown lifts. So set yourself maybe post goals, be like, right, if I can get to this within maybe this time, not like rushing it, but a little bit sustainable, might make you a little bit more, what's the word, motivated to reach them points. And when you hit them, most of the time when you start hitting goals, makes you a little bit more happy, a little bit more enthusiastic to train. And you maybe stop comparing yourself to pre-lockdown because, like we were saying before, this has been a long time, like 3 to 4 months, maybe where some people haven't really been doing much. So as much as you want to get back in, give it 100%, that is the reality where we haven't been doing much.
Wow, that's awesome that as well. Like post lockdown targets and like post lockdown PRs as well. That's awesome. And yeah, you're completely right. Actually, there, that's a really good. Just like getting those motivation back for like, oh, new post workout PR, and not thinking about like pre lockdown.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mate, that's
like
awesome.
shift your goalpost a little bit.
Yeah, shift his perspective as well. That's class. And then I kind of like we alluded to the second question here, so we'll dive straight into that.
Yeah.
Muscle soreness is mega since gyms reopened. How have you coped with this, and have you seen this in your clients? So this is probably a super popular topic amongst a lot of gym goers.
Yeah, I mean, from a coach, from my perspective, training, I've literally tried to keep that as far away as possible because over lockdown, I haven't been doing much, so I haven't really felt that much to do it. So the first day back where I really felt it was probably last Wednesday. We had programmed 90 seconds max rep sandbag squats, 90-second rest for 5 rounds. I jumped into it. I think it was like a 60-kilo sandbag. You could say that's probably not heavy with a bar, but a sandbag's totally different. I mean, struggled to walk for a couple of days after that. I'm not gonna lie. We can blame Coach Danny for that in the gym. But that was the first sign. I was like, right. I sort of went back to me pre-lockdown. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna attack this. Like, wait there. This isn't the same Tommy. And attacked it the same way. Still got a lot out of it. You still learn whether you feel sore or whatever. And yeah, paid the price for it. But then again, like I said before, it stopped me from doing the things that I enjoy doing. And I couldn't really I didn't do a sprint session last week because it was sore from my legs. Sort of done a little bit of lifting and plyometrics on the Saturday, but I was just sort of out of it, to be honest.
Fair play.
So
And how do you cope with muscle soreness? So when you are sore?
Simple things, again, like I said before, the simple things are probably the hardest things to do. Sleep, hydration, get me vegetables in and protein, massive. I mean, I think a lot of people, I don't know if it's precision nutrition touch on that, but they talk about steps. Now, a lot of people jump way ahead of themselves when they probably haven't got them 4 basic things down to a T. And I normally say to people, these are like health markers, really. I know a couple of people who get maybe a little bit of a migraine, and then what they'll do is they'll just jump up, pop 2 paracetamol, and just crack on. Really, look at the previous day. Them 4 things can affect a lot of how you feel the following day. So did you drink enough water? Did you get a good sleep? Did you have enough protein? Did you get enough vegetables or colourful vegetables in? And obviously food comes along with that. Normally, if 1 or 2 of them markers are out, then you need to go and correct that and see how you feel the following day.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome, and I'm glad you said that as well. There's a lot of things that say, oh, this will reduce muscle soreness or something like that.
Yeah.
First of all, just to outline, we're not chasing muscle soreness in the gym. That's not a sign of a good workout. And then how to recover from muscle soreness? Exactly what Tommy just said. I just want to say it again. Just good sleep, low stress, enough calories, enough protein, get your vegetables in, and that will take care of a lot of recovery.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, moving that as well. You could say you've had a really 100% day and you still want to sort of move the next day, which many people do. They don't want to just attack it Monday, rest Tuesday, Wednesday, attack it again Thursday, because that wouldn't be like a really good thing to do, especially if someone wants to train a lot. So if you're 100% on a Monday, maybe use Tuesday as like a little bit of a moving day. You do some light squats, just basically get the body moving. It's more often than not, complete rest could be a little bit worse than actually doing none. This is from my point of view anyway, which I've found in the past with myself and also clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Get the blood pumping.
Exactly, yeah. But I think the other part of the question was with clients as well. Because I experienced that pain, I've tried not to transfer that to my clients as well. I think let them feel that. So I've sort of I've switched around completely, to be honest. I'm doing a lot of Mississippi work, counting Mississippi in terms of tempo,
Oh,
slowing
nice.
everything
Okay.
right
Yeah.
down. And I've just completely gone back to like just the simple stuff. We'll do push-ups Mississippi, and pull-up lowers Mississippi. I know they cause a little bit more damage in that, but I mean just going literally back to square one, because I've thought pre-lockdown there was never any like control of the movements. Over lockdown there was a little bit of training but not much. So now is the time to lay them foundations. So everything I'm doing at the moment has got like a 3 to 5 tempo on them. So it's trying to build that solid foundation before we can move fast.
And that's awesome, that as well. That's really good. And just to add to my 2 cents in there as well, and probably just some interesting stories for my members listening to this as well. It massively depends what you did in lockdown for what I've programmed now. So in terms of muscle soreness, I've had a few people who took basically a month off in lockdown, trained a little bit maybe, and then got back into it. And it's pretty tough, obviously, and you would have experienced this, Tommy, as well. Being an online coach, you're not with your client face to face during the session as well. So I could program, right, we're going to do 2 warm-up sets, super lightweight, and then we're going to go for 2 working sets, and we're going to leave around about 4 reps in the tank per set. So a fairly hard set, but nowhere near pushing it. And I could think in my head, right, that's like low volume. We're doing 2 sets of squats. Perfect. And I'll have one person who may be taking a month off in lockdown come back to me and be like, Jesus, John, are you trying to kill me? I've got DOMs for days. I'm like going, whoops, sorry about that. And I've got other people coming to be like, you know what, I could have pushed it a little bit harder. That was absolutely fine for me. So for the latter, I was like, perfect. We've got the volume right. We'll kick on from there slowly. From person A, who's just mega sore from 2 sets, which, by the way, if you're mega sore from 2 sets, not a problem at all. It doesn't mean you're a bad trainer or anything like that. just means you're sore from 2 sets. We just have to reduce that volume a little bit more. And that was my kind of like sort of experience of that. I had some people who coped really well with reduced volumes, and some people who it was just a bit too much for them as well, which was super interesting from my point of view.
100%. I think we touched on it before, where you said, like, even though you do get into that sauna sort of realm, you're going to learn from it, whether you kill yourself or whether you just undershoot it. I always say that to Wick when I'm coaching. I was like, I would prefer you to undershoot it and be like, you know what, could have pushed a little bit more then? Great, because that takes us into the next session where we can add on to that. If you overshoot it, obviously you're going to end up a lot sore on that. But again, you've learned again, which, like, right, this gives me an idea of what might maybe be too much. So again, it's all part of the learning experience, I think.
Absolutely. And just to double back to the last question as well, like with training in terms of either building muscle, building strength, it's not how good you can be in that one single session, but how many good quality sessions can you string together, either like day after day, week after week, month after month. So like you said before, Tommy, if you go 100% in one session, maybe 110%, and that next session's now come at cost, well, it's probably better if you went 90-90 rather than 110-60.
Exactly. Is there a famous phrase? Consistency trumps something. Can't
Or is
think
it
of it.
the talent one? Consistent? No,
Is
no,
it,
that's effort or something like that. Consistent.
I don't know if it's consistently trumps intensity, but I don't think it can be that.
Not
Not
sure.
too sure. I'll have to find
I'm
out.
not great at my quotes. We'll find out what that quote was. But
Have to find that, yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and I completely agree. And someone who would definitely listen to this, one of my members, we had a really good conversation about this a month ago about being like really wanting to push it every single session. And I was trying to explain, like, sometimes it's better actually to pull back on the reins, and that's why tracking is so good, and knowing how pushing, because then you can be like, right, I did this last time, I don't have to add 10 kilos to the barbell. Like, maybe I equal my performance, maybe I get one more rep rather than going like pedal to the metal, and my rest of my training week suffers.
Exactly. I mean, just add another little bit of, like, goal setting. There's a great book by Dan John
Okay.
called Intervention, and I got recommended by this by Matt in the gym because he loves him. So he sort of took on the love of him just because of how much he talks about him. So obviously he is a great coach, like. And in his book he talks about when the goal setting, and he talks about the alphabet A to Z. But how many people are focused on Z? They forget about A to B, B to C, the small wins. So they're never really, like, happy with it until they get to Z. But if you improve your squat from 80 to 82 and you complete 5 sets of 5, that's progress. It's all little bits and you enjoy it. And that's why you got to enjoy the journey. If you're just constantly focused on that Z, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for you because it's going to be a long time getting there.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome, and that's golden, that as well. Just learning to love the process, learning to love that journey, because especially I always think that the goalposts always change, well, quite a lot of the time as well. Like, you get stronger and suddenly that goal moves further away. Suddenly that 100-kilo squat that you wanted turns into 120, turns into 140. If you're already
Yeah.
looking for that, it's like, wow, like you're always chasing.
Obviously, I mean, it is good to always keep moving it and thinking, but yeah, take a little bit of time to enjoy where you've come from as well.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. All right. Third question. How fast can you typically get your strength back after time off, in brackets, COVID? So 3 or 4 months off. It's a tough question to answer, but what's your take on that?
I mean, again, try not to blanket statements everything. It all depends on the person. Like you said before, we could just resort back to you give 6 sets of squats in total, including warm, to one person, and it was fine. The other person saw you killed me, John. So that depends totally in terms of strength and what you've been doing over lockdown. I mean, I know a lot of people have been doing sort of bodyweight stuff, but bodyweight's maybe a little bit different to adding a lot more load onto it. But it's good that they've maintained it throughout. I think a easy solution to come back to is potentially drop the weights by, like, I don't know, 30, 40 kilos, like a rough sort of thing, and slowly start to build from there again. I think in regaining strength, again, it all depends on what you're eating. You're eating back with your strength program. I know a lot of people have a little bit of false idea of what they really want. They want to get strong, but then they don't eat enough.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's normally the case. A lot of people want to get strong, but then when you tell them it's okay to not have abs, it's it's a little bit of a kick in the balls.
Blasphemy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, regaining strength is definitely a tough one, but I don't think it's as hard as what people will think. It's not like another year, 2 year process. But yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, like very similar to what your thoughts are as well. Like it completely depends what you did in lockdown. Um, First of all, just to outline strength, like strength is less about how do I describe this? So it's quite, if I get the word right, neurological.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
my wording not very right. It's quite neurological. So without that stimulus, you're actually not gonna obviously possess that kind of like I can lift this. You need to train that. However, saying that, muscle memory is very real and very true. So your ability to regain strength or get back to your previous strength is super quick and far quicker than it was to actually gain that strength originally. So muscle memory is true, and that'll be able to happen very quickly. However, saying that, depending what you did in lockdown will also depend on the speed as well. So, for example, if you have lost muscle in lockdown, take a little bit longer. But if your lockdown diet was pretty good, you had some good sleep, you trained a little bit maybe, even if it's body weight, you can definitely maintain muscle size on that. If you did that, it could be a really quick journey back to where your original strength was. Now, if you were terrible over lockdown, didn't train, ate terribly, didn't sleep, lost a little bit of muscle, then it might prolong a little bit. I mean, exactly, I think what you said before, Tommy, it depends on what your training is like when you're back in the gym now. Like if you're switched on a lot, you're recovering, you're eating well, you're looking after your food, yes, you can gain pretty quickly, like literally probably in a matter of weeks in some cases for some people, while some people it might be 3 months, 4 months. It's really hard to say like how fast you can get your strength back. All I can say is if you've maintained your muscle mass, it's really easy to train those strength characteristics. Um, if you've lost your muscle mass, it's going to take a little bit longer. However, muscle memory is very real, so you'll be able to go back a little bit quicker. But just a caveat to that as well, I always like to say to people, and I've said to quite a lot of people, probably since gyms already opened as well, think of it like this, like there is absolutely no rush to get back to lifting the weights that you were once lifting, and that's all an ego thing. Now, if you come from a muscle building perspective as well, this is like a golden opportunity because you're so desensitized to the barbell. Like you've been doing push-ups and bodyweight squats for 3 months. Like any other external weight, your body's going to be like, what is this? Now, you've done a really good job in the last 3 or 4 months and maintained some muscle size by having some good food, training a little bit. Now, you've got like 3 months of easy gains because the body's going to be so desensitized. You're going to load up like a 40, 60 kilo barbell onto your back and do a few squats fairly close to failure. Your body's going to be like, what is this? Let's grow some more muscle to cope
yeah,
with
yeah.
this new stimulus, which is awesome because then you don't have to train that hard for the next 2 months to grow muscle, which is like the best thing ever. If you've maintained your muscle, in the next 2 months, you're so desensitized, you don't have to train that hard or that heavy. You can grow even more muscle. That's like the best situation ever for people who want to build muscle. And then you can get stronger because you've got bigger muscles, which is awesome. Because at some point, you're going to be at the stage where you have to lift heavy, you have to lift close to failure, and you have to push harder to grow even more muscle. So when you've got a period of time now, which is the next 2 or 3 months, you might as well leak out those easy gains, put 2.5 kilos more every single week, even if it's 100 kilos lower than it were pre-lockdown, just leak out those easy gains, progress really slowly, look after your recovery, and you could get like put some serious muscle on in the next couple months with what really is minimal effort, because you know at some point you're going to have to load that barbell up and do some heavy squats again.
It's going to be like basically a free hall pass, like a reset button.
Literally as well, especially if you've done a good job over lockdown and your diet was all right. you had enough sleep, you did a few push-ups and a few bodyweight squats and stuff like that, it's really hard to lose muscle if you're doing that sort of stuff. To maintain muscle, you have to do such a low frequency, you don't have to do much volume. Now you're in the gym, you've got like, right, the buzz is back, I'm feeling good, I'm motivated because the gyms are open. Don't rush. There's no need to rush.
I
Like,
mean, we're not going on holiday anytime soon, are we?
but yeah, it's putting that perspective. You might as well like hoods up in the gym for the next 6 months. I'll see you when I'm bigger.
Winter's coming up. No beaches for a while, so we can save that for next year. No look good naked.
100%. Have you got any more thoughts on that question, mate?
I had a little one. I mean, it's a little bit of a twist on the strength training, but on the injury side of it. So I know there's a lot of sort of basically like science and studies out about training like the uninjured arm. So say like, I don't know, you're in a cast, you broke like your right arm. There's a lot of talk at the moment and a lot of stuff coming out based on you should be training the opposite arm because there's a bit of a transference because it's not completely separate. Like one arm's not 10 miles away from the other. We're all connected. So there's a lot of discussion about just similar to strength. If you can maintain over your injury, obviously not doing like silly stuff, but keeping it pretty sensible. If you can train one arm or say you've got an injured leg and you can train still certain movements, then there's a lot of stuff coming out at the moment about when you come back from that injury, that training can actually help speed up the process of recovery and rehabilitation and getting back a lot sooner than what you was sort of pre-injury. So again, that has a similar sort of effect with strength training post pre-lockdown and stuff. So yeah, it's just my little insight on that.
Awesome, mate. And yeah, completely true. Absolutely. We're coming to our last session, so we've flown through these. Last question was actually from me as well. How have your speed sessions gone since last Q&A? So I know you were getting into it. You were really into your speed sessions and your coaching as well. How have they progressed? Have you learned anything new? Any tidbits or anything like that?
How long have you got? Nah, I mean, at first it was just a little bit of fun. I was saying to John before we switched on that, going from like training with inside the gym, having all the camaraderie, people inside the gym training together, to like being basically on your own. I'm lucky enough to have accumulated like equipment over the years, like just buying little bits here and there. So I've actually had the setup, but it still didn't really have the same sort of drive to just go out and do stuff. A little bit of strength program, but just weren't like the same, like sort of push. So I just thought after finishing my first year of uni, we've done a little bit on like sprint stuff, a couple of assignments where I've touched on it. So actually quite interesting. Started to get watching like Usain Bolt videos and stuff back again. Ended up watching his film. If you haven't watched that, definitely give it a try. You'll enjoy it. And then from there, I remember going down to the track. It was meant to be in the first week of lockdown, and then a lad used to train with, Chris, pulled up behind me. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm going to sprint." He was like, "Can I join in?" And just sort of unraveled from there. And next minute, I had like 6 or 7 people asking me to join. I just said, "Right, it's not like coaching or not. I'm just turning up. I'll take you through like some of the movements," and we just sort of get involved. But yeah, it's definitely progressed from probably being not as focused on what we're actually doing, more like, can we get a little bit of med ball work beforehand, a couple of A skips for distance and stuff, a little bit of hurdles before sprinting, and then literally just getting onto like some short sprints, some sled sprints. Ended up buying a sled and a prowler over lockdown, so proper invested in it.
Excellent, mate. That's awesome.
And it's probably gone from that all the way to a point now where I've actually worked with people. Lloydie plays for Salford, so football asked me to work for acceleration. Ryan, GB lacrosse, and then at the minute I'm working with Rob, who's in China. He just plays a little bit of rugby. They just wanted to dive into like the agility and acceleration stuff. So it's gone from being a little bit of like a hobby to now when I'm fully enticed in it. In terms of the coaching side of it, I think it's gone from just having a little enjoyment to actually looking at what's going on in sprinting, the mechanics. I said to you before, I ended up pitching a course to dive in a little bit more, and the content from that is just took me to the next level in terms of wanting to know. So yeah, it's massive. But anything in particular you were focused on
Oh,
with the question?
yeah, good question. Actually, took me by surprise there. I was just listening in intently. Probably talk about actual sprint and speed training. I don't know whether
Okay.
some of the guys would be interested in that as well. When a lot of people think of speed training or sprint training, they think of like shuttles, like being tired, just back and forth all day long, and they confuse that with actual speed sessions. So if I wanted to actually like, right, I want to improve my acceleration or my top end speed, what would a session like that look like? And is it as intense that people think?
It's actually probably boring compared to what you used to. If you're used to the person who's going into the gym, warm up, strength training, accessories into your conditioner, then it takes a little bit of time to get used to the sprint because there's a lot of standing around. Easiest way for me to explain it to people, what I've found, sort of to come up with this myself, but instead of getting too sort of complex with it, everyone's sort of played the old fighting games like Tekken and Mortal Kombat on the old school games. Don't know if the kids know that anymore, but used to remember the life bar at the top. So
Yes.
you know where I'm going with this. The more you get into the fight and your life starts to go down to the red, it was on green. Then you've got to sort of buffer that back up until it gets back to green. It's the simplest way, and I can explain resting in between sprinting. Like I said before, if you put 100% to a sprint, you won't feel like you would do if you done like, I don't know, a set of 20. It's not that initial impact, but internally and like physiologically and that, doing some serious sort of work. So you've got to sort of wait about, depending on the distance, normally for like 10 to 20 meters, I was taking around 4 to 6 minutes for my life to buffer back up. Because again, you don't want to be fatigued when you sprint, because there's a big talk about fatigue affecting injury, especially hamstrings. So you want to be fresh when you actually perform in sprints. Two, you still want to get 100% out of every sprint. Like we were saying before, if you hit 100% on Monday and keep trying to hit that all the way through, by Thursday, you're going to be given 20%. So again, it might affect your mechanics. You might be performing faulty mechanics when you're fatigued. It's not what you want because it becomes solid mechanics then. You might pick up some bad habits and stuff. If I was going for, I'll explain a simple speed session for acceleration maybe. Acceleration probably only covers around 20 to 30 meters. Do you reckon top end athletes can accelerate a little bit longer? But I'm by no means an elite sprinter. So we might go to top speed within like 15 to 20 meters. Acceleration, you're looking for that basically what looks like a lean body angle, and it more or less is, but you're looking for that. So in terms of that, I would warm up where probably go from general to specific. General warm up, we do like a little bit of a jog side to side, get out of the sagittal plane, which is forwards and backwards. From there, it might get a little bit more specific where we go into some jumps. So we'll try and keep longer ground contact jumps where it might be double leg jumps over the hurdles, single leg jumps we got to in the end, broad jumps and vertical jumps with the med ball. From there, we got a little bit more specific where we were actually warming up like A skips and A walks and A marches. I'm not sure what they are, just typed in on YouTube, but it's basically drilling hand work and arm drive work and timing of the legs. So again, probably a good plyometric, if you can call it, long plyometric movements. Definitely good to incorporate before that. And then from there, we'd get into the actual sprint session, which would be, I'd start with a little bit of unloaded. And then sometimes I was doing like a little bit of complex work where I'd do a loaded sled over 20 meters, take like 30 seconds to 60-second rest. By the time I'd walk back, I was ready to do an unloaded sprint, with the aim of that being the strength movement affecting how much you can actually put into the unload movement in a good way. And then from there, I'd finish with some type of hamstring sort of health. So it was like Nordics, you were doing some backward sled drags for like the quads, forwards for hamstrings, that type of stuff. You were doing some lateral sled drags for just getting outside the different positions. And that's as simple. This, in terms of acceleration sprints, I reckon we were doing between 6 and 8 over 15 to 20 minutes. That's probably maybe a little bit longer. That seems 6, 7, 8 sprints in 20 minutes, you might think, but that's what you want to try and get 100% out of each one. So in a nutshell, from start to finish, general to specific, from the warm up to the actual session. And then we were going short to long in terms of the sprints, starting 5 meters, 10 meters, 15. I think the furthest you might have went is 30.
Mate, spot on. That was an awesome insight as well, and
Yeah.
yeah, bob on as well. That's a good point that you came out with. A lot of people think sprints is just like fast, like walk back recoveries and that, but actual sprint training is long rests, 100% efforts, and to get faster, you have to actually run fast. And resting will allow you to do that. So, like you said, 6 to 8 sprints in 20 minutes. Some people might be like, "Oh, we're not really doing much here," but problem is similar training for a 1 rep max. Like you might do
Yeah.
3 singles on like a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift in the whole session, and that's your session. Same with sprinting. You might do like 3 60-meter sprints with like 5-10 minutes in between, as long as they're flat out. On a note on that as well, I was a big fan of sprinting, still am, but back in the day as well. One of my favorite sprinters, even before my time, was Ben Johnson. Familiar?
Yeah. Ben
Yeah,
Johnson.
even though he got like he's known as like the bad boy of sprinting. He
I
did get
know, I
doped.
know.
He did get doped, but his just acceleration was outstanding, and that's something I really liked about him. But more of a fan of his coach, Charlie Francis, and he's got a really good book out as well. And he described a bit of Ben Johnson's training and said when they were training for top end speed, they had like a breakdown of all his best runs and whatnot. And if he fell below like 95% effort or speed, they just call the training session off. Just stop it there. We're not training speed anymore. You're too tired. We won't do a session at like 95% speed. And when you're talking about speeds that he was running, that's a minute amount of time. But if it wasn't good enough,
Phenomenal.
still going to stop. I'm not training today.
Well, there's another touched on Charlie Francis there. He's famous for the high-low method.
Mm.
If you're not sure what that is, the high one day, low the next. And what have we been talking about? It's so hard to do 100% every day. So this is where he's training the elite of the elite, as you say, Ben Johnson. The high-low method is when you're feeling good, like you said, your CNS is flying, you're feeling great, they're your high days. You're gonna follow that up with maybe a low day, a low impact day. Low impact day doesn't mean, I think some people take it into a little bit of the wrong context. You can still do sprint technique and stuff because it's all part of the package, but it's just not like pushing the body like you did the previous day.
Mate, spot on. And we'll wrap it up there as well. That was an awesome. Even if that was just for me, that last question, it was awesome to hear your thoughts on that, which is pretty cool as well. Just so the guys can give you a little bit of a follow, I'll tag it as well. But what's your Instagram handle so the guys can follow?
I think they've done this last time and I have to search for it.
Yeah, I know we did that. I forgot about that last time. I think it's like 101 or Coaching
yeah,
Tommy.
it's coaching 101 _ Tommy Halligan.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Definitely give Tommy a follow, guys, and just the information he puts out regarding sprint training, athlete development, stuff like that is awesome. Definitely take the time to listen to his videos on Instagram as well. They're definitely worth the listen and worth the watch as well. So once again, Tommy, thanks for joining us, and the guys definitely get a lot out of it.
No problem. Happy to help out, and hope if you have any questions again, just hit me up. I'm always trying to answer as many as I can on my Instagram. So hopefully I'll come back on for a 3-peat.
Absolutely, mate. Thank you very much.